Hey guys, welcome back to the Cult of Film. We're back today. We're chucking right along on old school anime features, manime, as I guess we're calling it, with our man Justin, aka Nite Patrol. And this is it seems like we're slowly making our way through the old Streamline Pictures catalog of stuff, and we're this
Mm,
doing Golgo 13, The Professional.
yeah.
I don't know how familiar you were with this one already, man, but how did you know about Golgo? Have you seen it? What did you think?
This was also one of my first anime. So it was like
Oh,
right after, Fist of the North Star. It was in that same bracket of time, that I was catching a lot of those shows. And yeah, that's something I actually did realize later on that a lot of the movies that I was watching that came on back in the day were actually the same ones that were licensed by Streamline Pictures.
yeah.
So I didn't know that until like years later, and actually saw the trailer. Actually saw like their media kit, and I was like, no way, that's all the anime that's thrown up the kid all at once. Holy shit. So yeah, I realized that later on, but yeah, Gogo is definitely one of them. And man, in a lot
Yeah,
of
no, this was basically it's like we're slowly going through the anime wall at the local blockbuster. It was Fist of the North Star, Golgo 13, Vampire Hunter D, Akira, all those like real bangers. Like I have to give it to Streamline. They did an excellent job in the 90s in terms of what they decided to license. But they were smart too because everything they licensed, most of what they licensed also was screened in art house theaters in in Chicago and New York and LA. And so yeah, this is great stuff. This particular version of Golgo 13 that we watched, I found this version, and this is the thing: the English dubbed version done by Streamline Pictures was titled "The Professional Golgo
mm,
13." I think they were trying to ride on the popularity of the live action movie with Jean Reno, The Professional. This particular version that we watched, though, is Golgo 13, The
mm,
Professional, the
mm,
original, uncut, unedited Japanese version in Japanese with English subtitles. I discovered this version on Prime Video
mm.
maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, and it's been on Tubi for free for like 3 years now. So
Yeah.
again, you all that you want to know what's good for you, sign up for Tubi TV with your email. It's free, and they've got an amazing selection of old school anime. Golgo 13, man. This is this is one of my formative mature anime. Like Fist of the
Yeah.
North Star was. It felt like again growing up with Robotech. Um, Star Blazers, which was Space Cruiser Yamato, Voltron, all of these things, Tranzor Z, which was Mazinga. A lot of, I mean, some of it was mature, but it wasn't until we really got to stuff like Golgo and Fist and Vampire Hunter D that it was like, oh shit, it's guns and titties. Like there's a whole lot more, and blood and stuff like that going on. And what I love about Golgo is like most anime, it looks like the manga. It's so because it was done in the early '80s, it really looks like the manga from like the late '70s, early '80s. It is very noir. It's super espionage, crime, suspense, thriller. It's sort of over the top action. You've got your scantily clad or no clad, femme fatales. You've got just beautiful hand drawn feature film budget anime from the golden era of anime. It's a fun story. Um, yeah, man, I love this one. I never get sick of this one. I showed this to my nephews about 4 years ago, and I wasn't sure how they were going to react, but they were all baked. And it was pretty much the opening where Golgo is making love to some woman, and he's completely stone faced, and she's naked, and they were all like, "What?" And yeah, suffice to say, nobody blinked from then on out. So
Yeah. There's almost every scene. There's some type of either action or some type of sexual situation going on. And I felt like with Gogo 13, every frame is designed to make you go just oh my god. You know what I mean? Everything is like an oh my god moment. Be it the way that um like you like with the action, either the way that you may assassinate people, or there's the other way other people may be killed, the way the way the women are pretty much hypersexualized. It's just everything. It's just hyper everything, and it's just like it doesn't hold back. It's just
Right.
it's a wild, rough ride. You know what I mean? To get through for anybody with sensitive palate, and
Right.
ooh, 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 it's like the
Yeah, this
movie.
is not. This is this. I mean, I remember the VHS box from when we were kids, and it's saying mature mature content, adults only, and it definitely is. And yeah, I don't. There are. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's stuff in here that's inappropriate, and it just kind of is. It's a Japanese animated crime film from the early '80s. You can't really go into this and be like, oh, clutching my pearls. This is not, if you have,
Yeah.
this, yeah, it's you have to take into account, I think, the time this was made, the culture in which this is made, and I as opposed to and that so you're not surprised really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I myself, even I'll say this, even it's been a while since I watched the movie, and I think the recently was the first time I actually watched it in Japanese. So I'd say more or less, the context was a bit more um direct. I would say kind of like with the old English dubs, some of the wording might have been kind of dated. I think that's one of the reasons why I guess if you go Japanese, it's a bit more geared towards its time, and
Mhm.
it's more grounded. The context is more grounded. It's more solid. So you can really watch anything, with subs and get the full context of what's going on with that. It actually sounded like you're hearing about people saying, stop your yakking or something like that. So you're not hearing dated slang, or at least not to us anyway. But
Right.
oh yeah, like honestly, yeah, yeah, Golgo 13, without a doubt, it's definitely an extremely wild and vicious ride. In a
Hmm.
sense, it's very no holds bar in every sense of the word. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Like I said, people with a
There,
sensitive palate would be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they actually got away with making something like this," and it's like,
right.
"Oh my god, they really went there." It's like, bro, that movie pretty much crosses every line possible as far as like censorship and any type of moral conservatism at all. So it's like, yeah, you go
Well,
in there watching
well,
it
this is
thinking
the
it's
thing. I
gonna
mean,
be,
it reflects the manga. It reflects the
oh
sensibility of
yeah,
what the comic was, and I have to give it to them that they didn't pull their punches. Um,
yeah, that's
you
true.
know, I,
Mhm.
I do wonder if something like this could be made today. I know that there was a
Definitely
single
not.
shot OVA called Golgo 13 Queen Bee
Oh
that
yeah,
came out, like, I think in the 90s, and then in the
yeah,
early
yeah,
2008, '09, there was another animated, I don't know if you would call it a TV series. I don't know if it was like 10,
yeah,
11, 10 or
yeah,
12
yeah. There
episodes,
was a
whatever,
miniseries. Yeah,
maybe more. I
yeah,
watched that
yeah.
too. And none of them really hit as hard as this film does.
Oh no,
And
yeah, yeah,
part of the fun of, and maybe we should back up here. For those of you that hopefully you've watched this by now, if you haven't, again, spoilers are going to abound, but you can go to tubetv.com and watch it in its entirety. But if you have watched it, again, Golgo 13, he is this mysterious assassin, a gun for hire. And the crux of this film is they set it up with, he's just doing a job, an assassination. He shoots a guy, and then we see him going. Then he's, I think, somewhere probably in the Americas. Then he's over in Sicily. He takes a job there. This bishop has his entire family was killed. He gets the money. Da 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 da. So we sort of see him go through several jobs, but one of the jobs he does is the assassination of the son of oil magnate, sort of an industrialist named Richard Dawson. His
yes,
son
right.
Robert is assassinated by Golgo, and basically Mr. Dawson loses his shit and puts every bit of his fortune and his power into basically putting together a different set of, basically a team of assassins to take out Golgo. And that's really what the entirety of the film is basically. I remember the streamlined trailer was, um, the hunter has become the hunted.
Oh yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
cheesy,
yeah.
but that's basically what it is, and it's a lot of fun watching Golgo go up against what is kind of a Batman's rogues gallery of assassins. You know, they each kind of have their own sort of personality and their own quirk. They're a little comic booky, but still grounded enough for you to believe it and for you to have fun with it. And that's, you know, he's got the FBI, the CIA, the KGB, Dawson's people, just all these folks coming after him, and it's just this beautiful tapestry of death and destruction, and the occasional betting of a lovely lady here and there for Golgo, who's his name, his I'm not spoiling anything here. His one of his aliases, his big aliases, Duke Togo, and so his friends call him Duke. Is that his really name? We may never know, but it's fun to watch Golgo sort of tear through these different families and characters and organizations that some at first seem like, oh, you know, they kind of have a point. You know, Golgo did kill that guy, and then you realize that they're just as nuts. And it feels very. I would love to see Tarantino take a shot at this. I feel like if there is a living director who would blow the shit out of this, it's very Tarantino if you watch it. So if you're a Tarantino fan, I feel like there's a lot of that sensibility in terms of the artistry of the violence that's used, the artistry of the characterization, just the fun with the
Mhm.
character. I don't know. What do you think, man?
I'm thinking about how maybe how Golgo 13 worked in terms of like, or at least how the professional movie kind of worked very well off of its action and off of its let's just say off of just the entire movie is just completely visceral. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a visceral nonstop experience, and it keeps going along.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say right now would Tarantino do a bad job with the action, because he definitely would make a spectacle of the violence for sure. I think in terms of story, I don't know, it may have some really long, talking points, long talking points
Sure.
and expositions, like, I'm just thinking of, like Despicable 8 or something. Like, we don't
Sure.
want to get too long with the talk and, keep it all in one scene. But yeah, I could definitely, that would be really interesting to see somebody actually attempt to make a movie like this, in live action, or even as an, I won't say independent film, because I don't know, you probably need a really big budget, considering the fact they use several helicopters, and all
Oh
that.
yeah.
Um, and it's kind of hard to say. It's kind of hard to say, like, seeing it as a live action, if it would really pop the same way. Um, it probably could definitely be done. I think it really comes down to more uh, how certain scenes in certain situations are conveyed in order to really have that same level of like shock and awe.
I
That
mean,
you have.
all I think of, I mean, I'm just thinking Kill Bill. I mean, you think about what he did with Kill Bill, and you just slide that into Golgo. Obviously, Tarantino loves his dialogue. He's a master of incredibly fun, great dialogue. So, yeah, Golgo, you know, he's not really a man of very many words, but I think you could get around that with, you know, basically populating the other characters with, because
Mhm.
everybody else talks more than Golgo 13 does. I'm just
Yeah,
thinking in
yeah.
terms of the spectacle of violence, the spectacle of,
Mm. Yeah.
like you said, it's such
Mhm.
a visceral, visual, popping sort of movie. Uh, I could see someone like Tarantino probably having a good time with it, or even Park Chan Wook of Old Boy. He,
Oh, there you go.
I mean,
Whoa.
come on. I mean, just think about that. What
Ooh,
that guy is able to do with a movie, you give him something like Gold. Because this
there
is the
you go.
problem is the Japanese, I feel like only in recent years have started to really been able to do their stuff that comes from manga well as live action.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
never really worked. There was a Golgo 13 movie done in the 70s with the
Oh
great
yeah,
Ziba.
yeah. I
It's
just saw that. Yeah,
it's on Tubi as well. It's Golgo
yeah, yeah.
13 with
Yep,
Simon
yeah. I just
Cowell,
watched them back to
and
back.
it's
Yeah.
not great.
No, it's not. It's
It
pretty
doesn't
bad.
come close to the 83 animated film,
Yeah.
but then you think, okay, Park Chan Wook, you know, you give him a decent budget, and you know, you tell him, okay, what do you do with this? I mean, I'd pay good money to see him do that. You know,
Man, that would be crazy.
You
That would
know,
be
oh,
insane.
I'm trying to think here because I'm looking at his filmography, or I'm trying to.
Hmm.
Why? Okay, here we go. So no, that's not it. Jesus, it's like every page on. Never mind. Let me go back here. Park Chan Wook. Let's try this again. Movies. Thank you. Okay. So we have Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. Thirst was his vampire film.
Mm,
My favorites of his, he doesn't do it. I think it was his first English language film. It's called Stoker, done in 2013.
okay.
Everybody has to see that fucking movie.
Mm.
Very visual. He did Snowpiercer, Joint
Oh
Security
yeah.
Area in 2000, which is kind of a cult classic. But yeah, someone like Park Chan Wook knows how to not just make violence
Oh, yep.
violence. Like I feel like he's one of those directors that could make Golgo something that of the level of an Old Boy. You know, just the way he
Oh
does what
yeah.
he does.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. I could totally see that. I could totally see it. Like I remember watching even Snowpiercer and just thinking like, dude, like the way that um I don't know, it has the flow with his storytelling and with the action
yeah,
that makes it work. Where it's like the storytelling, the acting, in between action scenes, it isn't overbearing, it's not boring, it's intriguing, and it doesn't take too long to really get to the point before you have to move on to the next scene. So,
right.
yeah, I could totally see him, doing an adaptation for Golgo 13 and it being very good. Because when you think about it, you know I would say like my takeaway from like Golgo 13, the 1983 anime movie, it's basically, like a very a very dark Japanese um James Bond.
Right.
I always have like these parallels between like, what American filmmakers are making and what Japanese animators are trying to make to, try to like run tandem with that. But yeah, I would definitely, say that, yeah, it should feel like a Bond movie. There should be a sense of like noir and mystery.
Yeah.
And that being said, when
Well,
there's an
that's
action scene or when there's a woman on the screen, there's definitely going to be there's going to be either a lot of violence or a lot of sex, or probably a lot of or some sexual violence. I don't know. But anyway, but yeah, I could. Oh man, a live action of that. Well, technically, we did get a peek of that. We did a taste of that. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the scene the scene with the helicopters and
mm-hmm.
the machine gun and how that might have inspired a certain Wachowski duo to
Sure.
make a really cool scene in a really cool epic movie like The Matrix.
I
So
saw bits of, and what Justin's referring to is, towards the climax of the film, we have actually one of the earliest CGI animation scenes I think ever done. We have in this film with
mhm.
helicopters basically converging on Dawson Industries, Dawson Enterprises to finally take out Golgo 13. And two things came to mind. One, you're right. In recent viewings, I've thought of The Matrix, but something else that popped up in my head is Die Hard, the original Die Hard, because
Mhm.
the building, the shape of the building, and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
shape of Nakatomi Tower,
yeah. They
just
look the same, don't
they
they?
seem very similar. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
See, I don't know if the guy who did Die Hard um, was that inspired, or if the people who built Nakatomi Tower, which is a real building in LA,
Yeah.
if they were inspired by it. But yeah, there's layers here. You can see in this film. Oh, I could see how that might have, influenced Die Hard or The Matrix. I really love more than anything, man. I think if assuming I had the money, I had the influence. If I was producing this, I would want to set this movie in the early '80s. I don't think I would not want this to
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
contemporary. I love the sound design, like you said, the noir motif is runs all the way through it. You have this sort of low saxophone that sort of follows Golgo all through everywhere he goes. There are beautiful shots in this film of lots of like neon and cityscapes. That bright neon against sort of like the dark city. The silhouettes of like Golgo and whatever women he's with. You see that their silhouettes up against like that's something too that I find really, really charming about the anime feature films of this era is all of the vehicles are real vehicles. Um,
Mm.
like the real like the Rolls Royce was an actual Rolls Royce. There's a Ford Laser which was only available in Europe in the early '80s. Shows
Mm.
movie. I love that level of detail, the level of detail in the paintings. Like you'll see advertisements, or like we talked about the neon signs. You'll see like Honda or Coke. Um, it's not something you can really do anymore because if you do, you kind of have to have an agreement that you're advertising this product in this movie. And back in the day, that didn't really happen. Um, if a Coke ad or I don't know a Budweiser sign showed up in your movie, it's just kind of free advertising for that company. And I do think it just the level of detail that Japanese animators had in this era to again make it as real as possible, make it as noir as possible. Like you articulated a point when we reviewed Fist of the North Star that has I don't that has stuck with me since, that Japanese animators of this era were trying to emulate Western filmmakers of the time. It's so many Westerners still not like they used to, but used to look at any animation as children's fare. It's for kids, and obviously the Japanese of the time, it's like no, we don't have the budgets for Hollywood films, but we can animate films that emulate
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah, I
Golgo
know.
13, the scope of it, the again the nonstop action, the constant unspooling of the plot and the narrative, and just the constant action and the thrills really feel like this could have been adapted from a Hollywood film. It really feels that way.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think that's a really brilliant, technique that, a lot of anime filmmakers, came up with back in the day to really not only kind of compensate for the lack of a budget to keep up with Hollywood or stand out in a way, but um, they did it the hard way. Like it's like everything that was done with the camera in America or just, anywhere that, most people just do movies or TV shows. Japan did it the hard way. They did everything by hand. Studied they studied they studied everything. They studied, in a lot of cases, physics, for those a lot of action sequences, they had to figure out how to make all of these different stories, work in a realm of just pure, imagination.
Well, the rifles and the guns going off in this film, just the mechanics of like Golgo uses an M16. I don't know why he uses an M16. There's so many better rifles out there, but for whatever reason, Osamu Dezaki decided he uses an M16. But just like the opening shot of the plane landing and Golgo just sort of like putting his rifle together and loading it and the click and just
Yeah,
seeing the mechanics of the rifle working, seeing the mechanics of the plane landing and um, that level of technical understanding, like you said, the physics of okay, you see a machine gun going off, and you see all of the shells popping out. It's like okay, they're flying out, and then you see them hit the ground and then bounce. You're right; they had to. It's like okay, if this was actually happening, how does a shell fly out of a machine gun? How does it bounce off the floor? All of those things. The jumping of a car. Okay, if you did riddle a car with bullets, as happens in one of the scenes, what would that look like? It's again the dedication to realism in a medium where it's not realistic. I think is what makes all this stuff so effing cool
yeah,
because
that's
they
true.
don't have to do that. In fact, nobody really does anymore. It feels like, and like you said, it's all hand drawn. All of this, what is it like? 28 pages equals 3 seconds in a hand drawn anime, which again, a lot of that stuff is. I mean, there are hand drawn anime, but a lot of it is there's more computer being used now. You just when you understand that it was all handmade, that every single frame of this movie was drawn by armies of people that were probably
Yeah,
I mean, Japan in the early '80s, those people were probably working 18-hour days. The just
yeah.
um, the gravity of the accomplishment of these types of movies just really hits me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it absolutely hits me too because you take all you like I said about mechanics, you take about everything that was done at least for just one scene. That opening scene alone was super awesome. You know, the way that he was setting it up, and it wasn't you take into consideration like everything that he was trying to do to load that rifle up. You know, in the position that he was in to take a shot and try to assassinate somebody on a moving plane while he's sitting in a car. You
Right.
know, you take the mechanics and then you take the cinematography and that try to convey all these different elements that are going on to really give you a sense of just it just blows it's mind blowing. You know, so trying to figure that part out. You know, and I'm like, wait,
Right.
what?
The reflection of the lights from a car, like you see the headlights. There's clearly a car behind Golgo, and just how they would draw light coming through the back of the car from the car behind him and reflecting in the rearview mirror.
Oh
Just
yeah,
all of those things that taking the time to put the speedometer on the car. Like I'm trying to think, when was the last time you watched any sort of animated. I guess that's what like a lot of the newer computer animated stuff doesn't really work for me. It's because it's that level of like they're well written, they're well produced, they're fun, but that level of dedication to detail and realism
yeah,
that I grew up with, that I so love again about this era, we don't really do that anymore. So this is,
yeah, true.
it just makes it more special. I don't know.
No, yeah, that's definitely true. I think about a lot of older, you know, anime from the time and how there was always an emphasis on the technology that was being used by any character in any of the stories, be it a movie or a TV show. There was always some type of emphasis, you know, like even and it's like I said, it's the little things that really matter. And it's like, okay, no stone left untouched. Like if you look at
Right.
certain movies that may have used like watches or belt buckles, and how the belt buckles may even have like a really really stylish embroidering or branding on it,
Right.
and how that's kind of like used to like okay they it's like no stone left unturned. You think about the animators of the time, and I think they had a very special pride about the quality of their production, and not leaving anything to chance that okay if you leave anything out that doesn't have a sense of purpose, it could make our entire production look like a cartoon type of thing. And I think that might have been the case with a lot of the animators of yesterday, how they just were they really stressed. They stress. They stress details. They stress details in
Well,
everything.
I think this is the fun, like the perfectionism that comes out of Japanese culture when applied to whether it be a Seiko watch or a Honda or Golgo 13, the professional. We as viewers or as recipients of these products, it's really something that again why we and the world loves Japan. This dedication to making things as special and as detailed and as beautiful and as perfect as they can be. And again, you could take the position that it's just a movie. Well, I mean, it is, but this is Japan in the '80s, man. We're going hard. We're going to make this
Yeah,
cool and as unique and as detailed as possible to give you the most real experience as we can. Again, within a medium that isn't real. This isn't. Uh, and I remember being blown away by this movie, and again, most anime as a kid, and being so annoyed with people that always wrote off. And I feel that these these releases in the '90s, Golgo, Fist, Vampire Hunter D, it was the first time I felt like, oh, it started to change. Because almost anyone that I showed those particular movies to were like, oh, this is not a cartoon. I mean, wait, it's a cartoon, but it's well, wait, did she just stab that guy? Like, and again, hand it off to Carl Masick and the folks at Streamline for uh, showing the world what this art form can really be. And it feels like, again, we take it for granted now. You can stream, dozens of series all the time, everywhere.
right.
But again, it wasn't that way. And I would say even too, like, is there anything on the scene right now? Again, I don't watch a lot of contemporary anime. Um, I'm not into isekai. I feel like the palette of everything being made right now is super pastel. Everything's bright, everything's polished, everything's shiny, including the new Fist of the North Star stuff that it's like it's had the soul removed. I can't watch it. Is
I didn't
there
know there's
anything
actually new.
going
There's
on
new.
that's hardcore like the stuff we've been reviewing?
You know, I haven't seen anything that really resembles anything from the '80s at this point. I was looking at, I think I was looking at Samurai Kamui lately. I think that might be the only show that I watched recently that it kind of has a resemblance of kind of like shows like or like movies like Ghost in the Shell. You have like some cyberpunk elements because it's about hackers and ninjas. Uh, and it does have an orient of detail to it as well too, trying to create a story and trying to tell something that's action based, something that does have some type of substance or mystery to it, or something that's also kind of relevant to, I guess, to today, in terms of like maybe in terms of society and technology and stuff. I still have to watch it some more because I only watched like maybe a couple episodes and it didn't really like nothing really stood out to me. Like it stood out a little bit, but it wasn't like, oh my god, that was so cool. But you know, I honestly haven't seen anything either that really just stands out to me. It seems like most everything's trying to be shonen. Everything's trying to be
Yeah,
Naruto, One
everything
Piece,
seems
Dragon Ball.
super youth oriented. And again,
Yeah.
you and I obviously are not kids anymore, but it seemed like in the 90s and even the 2000s, it felt like there was always there was more fare out there across different genre. And everything now seems shonen, isekai, everyone.
It's all about
Yeah,
power level.
yeah,
You know.
it doesn't, I'm trying to think. I heard about this one anime about that's basically Power Rangers meets The Boys,
Oh
where it's
yeah, I
about
heard about that
and I
too.
that
Yeah.
that one I really kind of want to watch because it sounds interesting. One, because I like the Sentai series,
Yeah,
and I
me
love
too.
The Boys, and I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's a super original approach, but I can't remember the name of it. That one I
Uh-huh.
would watch, but there doesn't seem to be a. There was one other manga that came up when I was researching Ryoichi Ikigami. It's called Heat. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and anytime I try to look it up, I get the 1995 Michael Mann movie, which everyone should watch. But yeah, there's a manga called Heat, which was published. I'm sorry, written by Buronson of Fist of the North Star, illustrated by Ryoichi Ikigami, who did um, what is it? Crime Freeman and related comics.
Mhm.
Was published from 98 to 2004. So again, I'm still 25 years in the past on my taste. So anyway,
Good
um,
take.
but no, I mean, it's basically about gangsters. What is it? It's a seinen manga. Uh,
Yeah, that's my jam. Yep.
yeah, I love that. It's a criminal underworld in Shinjuku, like that type of stuff. But again, that ended in '04. That ended 20 years ago.
Mm.
I just can't get into um, schoolgirls and I don't know. Oh, you know what? Actually, I did look at. I stepped into a Barnes and Noble for the first time in I think a decade, and I almost emptied the shelf of all of the Fist of the North Star manga because since we talked about it and dove back in, I'm like, I need to reread all this.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back and go see what's going
And
on
it's
after
they're
that now.
all they're all getting published again. There was that. I want to reread all of Akira because I
Mm.
remember the first time I read it, it was just it's truly one of the most spiritual, artistic experiences of my life. Akira, that one summer that I read the whole thing, it
Wow.
was like time stood still. But there is a more recent manga that I had heard about, and I finally decided to thumb through, and it is a cyberpunk manga. Apparently, that's pretty huge. It's called Blame.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and it's not actually blame. It's supposed to be like blame or
Yeah.
blame, something like that.
Blame. Yeah,
But I
blame.
started thumbing through the first book. I'm like, this is some hardcore cyberpunk. Like this is it.
Yeah.
It felt a little Akira-ish, and apparently
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to be really high concept science fiction. It's high concept, cyberpunk, and man, if I had the time, I would dive into this one.
Yeah, that's something I got to revisit too because I was kind of blown away by the first book as well. Just it's gritty, it's dark, it's
Yeah,
futuristic, and it's just there's always something going on that just kind of draws you in to its bigger story. So that's the type of that's the type of stuff I like. You know, it's just it's
it's
got
so
stuff.
different. It seems so different from everything else that's popular. Like it's not in
Yeah,
the same universe as One Piece or Naruto or uh, Airbender. Like any of these, it's like no, it's way over. It's again, it feels like something that is written for me. You know, it is written for someone who's clearly an adult. Not to say that
yeah,
those
yeah.
other manga aren't for adults, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. It's you don't have it's not necessarily like for teenagers and all that stuff. There's a lot of adult themes going on with it, the environment, everything that's going on is it's there's a sense of bleakness going on. There's a story that's kind of like a story that's derived out of a bleak situation
Right.
and setting. And the fact that it takes a different time period and a completely different place is
Right.
what makes it just kind of like it's intriguing, and it does have like this tech industrial type, like post industrial
Right.
type of feel to it. And it's like, man, you kind of like how things are futuristic, but they're still kind of like everything's kind of broken. It's kind of
Right.
machiney, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But it's not like
it really gave
sophisticated.
Katsuhiro Otomo Akira vibes. You know, it's like it's the
Right, right.
future, but everything's sort of gritty and broken. It looked like someone that I could seriously fuck with. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I did a little bit more research. I know there was a Blame film, but apparently it's not something that really works for a viewer unless you've read the manga. Like it's something
Oh,
that's really unless you've read the manga all the way
okay.
through.
Right, right, right.
It's not like Fist of the North Star, the movie, where you could just jump in having not read anything, and you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
sort of
It's like
enjoy
a
it.
standalone.
You know,
Okay.
it's sort of
Yeah.
a standalone, exactly, standalone piece. The Blame movie probably won't be something we'll ever review for this channel because there's just too much outside of it. You know, people have said it's too confusing. It would sort of like be watching End of Evangelion
Hmm.
and not having seen anything else. It's you really you really need to watch the series, watch Death and Rebirth, and then get to End and and you should do all of that because the payoff is unbelievable. Oh my god!
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. I
But
remember. Ironically, that's actually how I ended up watching Evangelion. I was like, it just came on Stars one day, and I'm like literally watching. It's really just watching. Home Sister Todd is on TV. I'm just like, oh
wow,
wow, I should watch this.
yeah,
So that's kind of how I ended up watching Evangelion and End of Evangelion at the same time, as really at the big climax. It's like, oh my god, what is going on? It's like, whoa.
yeah.
So
That's another one that yeah, I've people that I've told people I'm like, look, the first three episodes, you're going to be like, what am I doing here? Just hang in there because by
oh
the time
yeah,
you get to the end, you're going to question your existence. Like it's that powerful
oh
of
yeah, it was very very meta and existential.
independent of anime. It's just a good sci-fi story. It's so psychological. It's so smart and emotional and layered. But
Philosophical, political,
yeah,
all
it's just
that.
so fun. And again, we're kind of getting in the weeds here, but I think with Golgo, it's not necessarily about deep themes or deep philosophies or ideas. This is really just I shouldn't say just the purpose of this film is to give you a fun story. This is a popcorn movie. It's it's designed to be a little over the top. It's designed to, it does sort of exploit sex and violence, but that's the point. The whole point of the manga, the whole point of the movie, uh, of this character, that's what it's about. So if that's not your taste, definitely, don't go, watch Sailor Moon, if that's not for you. But the rest of
Yeah, yeah,
you,
careful. Yeah, just be careful with it. Like I said, and that's something I do have to address about myself personally when it comes to certain movies or films that I actually got exposed to watching at a young age. The palette did change at some point where I was like, hey, even I had to kind of stop and think about what I was, watching, and just kind of like thinking about myself. Like, man, I was like really young when I watched this stuff, It's
Sure.
like this really affect me or desensitize me in certain ways. And
Mhm.
sometimes I have to kind of think about it and you kind of take a step back. It's like, okay, yeah, the movie, on its own, definitely great, definitely awesome. Would I watch it every weekend? Hell no, it gets too much.
Right.
I just gotta
Right.
watch it every. You can watch it every once in a while, maybe once in every blue moon. Some movies
Right.
you experience and you just not to say move on, but it's like something like, okay, do I really want to, sit back and just, just
It's a lot. It's really
yeah,
intense.
yeah,
It's
it's
not
intense
meant
stuff.
to.
Yeah, Golgo 13, for all intents and purposes, like a lot of the movies that we'll be talking about, they're pretty intense. Even for today's standards. It's like everybody's kind of used to like violence, gore, and sex and all that stuff. But I feel like these movies are so ahead of their time,
Right.
and the content that they made for their time. You think about it, we're talking about movies that came out probably like about, 30, 40 years ago and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, they're still really intense even for now. You can watch anything on anything now and it's like, wow, this is so intense. Wow. But it's like, no, man, like honestly, a movie like Wicked City or Golgo 13 or Fist of North Star would have
Sure.
got an NC
Sure.
17 rating for sure. You know what I mean? And it definitely would probably be attacked by cancel culture so fast if you tried to watch it. That being said, it just kind of shows you what am I trying to say? It really kind of shows you just kind of how it's timeless in a sense that it's everything kind of dark and disturbing about humanity. And yeah, Golgo 13, it's literally that. You're not gonna see, uh it's not triple X, okay?
No, 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 not at all. Not at all.
It's like you think about how assassins are portrayed and how it is in Western media, how a lot of stuff is romanticized and sensationalized and everything. It's all like, everybody wants to be like the protagonist. He's so cool. He
Mhm.
does this. He can do whatever he wants. This is by no means like a PG. Everything is very, even the R-rated stuff is very, gets very PG-13. Sometimes the PG-13 can turn like into a soft R, and sometimes the R stuff I've noticed can be a very soft R. But I just, I'm telling you, it's like, stuff like this, I feel like
Well,
it really just,
Golgo is not. He is not Bruce Wayne. He is not James Bond.
no, no, no.
He is cool. He looks cool. He does
Yeah,
cool stuff. But under no circumstances do I think anybody would want to be this guy. Like if this guy lived, it's this uh, always looking over your shoulder, never being able to form a bond with a woman outside of just betting her, like all these things. Like when you really think about it, definitely not. But for the purposes of it being the popcorn movie, the sort of outrageous actioner that it is, it absolutely delivers. Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah,
You're,
it's
it's
and I
wild,
know
right?
it's not nearly as intense as something as like End of Evangelion. It's not even as emotionally intense as something like
Oh
Wolf's
yeah,
Rain.
yeah, definitely
It's
not emotional.
designed to be um
I would
an
say
act,
honestly,
you
I
know. But
honestly, yeah.
but to your point, would this be something I'd watch all the time? I mean, maybe I might have it play in the background, but no, I think it's something that um again, there's so much packed into this movie. When you're done with it, you'll be thinking about it for a week. Just like Fist, just like we'll probably review D as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's gonna be exciting.
and that's these are three very different. Like Golgo is a little outrageous over the top. Fist certainly is. Vampire Hunter D not so much. Again, it has its moments, but it's
It has,
by
yeah,
no means.
it has moments.
Yeah,
It's still really good. Oh
oh,
man, I
so good.
haven't seen it in such a long time too. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't. I can't remember if it's streaming anywhere, but yeah, that's something we should revisit too. Like all of these, again, really solid, fun uh, features that dropped by Streamline. It's amazing how well they hold up.
oh yeah, yeah, they're definitely timeless for exactly what they are, and they're most certainly relevant even to today's audience, looking for something that really stands out, that doesn't really try to hold their hand and walk them through
Right.
anything. You're in for definitely for a wild ride, and it
Right.
won't be one that it's like, okay, yeah, it was good, moving on. It's definitely not that type of you know, 80s anime, everything that came out of Japan in the 80s, they were really about sending a message, to anybody that watched their stuff that they could make something incredible and unforgettable with animation. They were really out there for the impression that what they were doing was significant, just as, if not more significant than what Western writers and directors
I
were
agree.
doing.
And entertaining at the same time. Like one of the
Yeah,
things
yeah.
that I sort of noticed about, I remember parents in the '90s getting a lot of them getting bent out of shape about these films, and
My
them
mom.
not understanding the cultural context from which these movies came. Just because you watch a violent movie doesn't mean you're going to be violent. I mean, I've watched since I was a kid some of the most violent movies ever. I've never harmed anybody. You know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Hmm.
it's no, this is a type of entertainment. It's a unique type of entertainment, and again, culturally, having the cultural context from which a lot of these films were made is a
Hmm.
big because if you're only looking at it through your super limited, you know, like
Yeah,
Midwest mom sort of lens about, well, I saw a breast and I saw,
right.
violence. Well, okay, but
That
that in and of
cartoon
itself
character
doesn't
got a
get a
bullet in his
bad
brain.
part, right?
Yeah.
So, but no, these were fun, man. Um, I definitely think if you're down, I'd like to continue to go down the streamline route.
Yeah, yeah, I love unpacking all this stuff with you, buddy. So, absolutely should. We absolutely should. It's funny too because lately I've just been finding a lot of older anime that I didn't even know existed. Like I'm pretty sure you saw on the Gogo's Girls page. I actually posted an anime I didn't even know existed, but you already knew what it was, and I was just like,
Oh yeah.
oh,
Oh,
yeah.
El
So
Vegas.
yeah, yeah, I didn't know. I was just I
El
wasn't aware of
Vegas
that.
is an interesting one, man, because I remember in the '80s, Matchbox imported the what they called the Voltron toys, die-cast toys, to the West, and it's interesting. There was some sort of a plan by, I guess, World Events Productions, which created Voltron. Basically, what went on in the '80s was a lot of folks that would go to Japan and check out like the toys and animation scene to see what they could maybe buy up and sell over here. Voltron was one where they technically bought three different series. Okay, the one that everybody knows and remembers is the vehicle or the lions, the robot lions that form Voltron.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the biggest one. There was another one, Vehicle Force Voltron, which was a bunch of cars and jets and vans.
Right. Yeah.
But there was another one, which was Albegus, where it was three robots that sort of stacked together.
I didn't know
And
that.
it's and it was marketed that Vehicle Voltron was Voltron 1, Albegus was Voltron 2, and the Go Line or the Line Voltron was Voltron 3. I don't know why that was, why they numbered them that way, because the only one people really cared about was Lion Voltron. That was the big TV show. The toys sold. There's a love for the vehicle Voltron out there, but it never got as big as the Lions.
That's
And
true.
I remember always waiting for Voltron 2, the El Vegas, and they just never brought it over because they were making so much money with the Lions that they're like,
Wow.
we're just going to keep. In fact, Go Lion, which is a series that Voltron was based on, it had a beginning and an end. I think it had like 36 episodes. It was
Right.
so popular in the States that they had to go back to World Events Productions, had to go back to the original Japanese studio and say, yeah, we need 65 more episodes. They went back and just kept making more and more and more. And I don't know, I think there were like 100 episodes of Voltron.
Hmm.
So that's how big it was. But, they basically were like, what's popular, what's working, we'll put our money there. So when you posted about El Vegas, I'm like, I kind of want to dig into it because I never actually get around to watching it. It never got imported, uh,
Yeah, I was
and that type
shocked,
of
dude.
stuff. And this is what I think is fun, man. The thrill of the hunt. Like as much as we think we have everything, there's still stuff we're discovering, especially this more esoteric '80s stuff, man. That most folks today, at least the kids, are going to be like, "What?" You know what I mean? So it's fun, man.
F them kids. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
exactly.
man, we don't do this for them. It's like, come on,
Right?
man.
No, no, and
You're
that's the
talking
thing.
about the babies at the family cookout. Okay, they got an opinion now. All right, fine, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and it's fun too because, like I said, I've shown stuff like Golgo, and a couple others, Fist, and again Vampire Underneath. I've shown it to my nephews, and they don't pick up their phones. They don't. They really dug this stuff. So I think
Mm,
that's a testament to uh, the quality of these movies. That if you can get, you know, what is it, end of millennial Gen Zers to watch it and not roll their eyes, it's good
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, and
man.
I think definitely something like the movies we've been watching. I think they are by design, meant to do exactly that. They're not meant to. They're meant to get people's attention, because they focus on certain key, key things, key instinctual things that people really care about, and it's like, it doesn't hold back. It gives you all of that. You think about it, it gives you everything that you really want, and it transcends the limitations of maybe the technology for the time when it comes to the storytelling or just really the execution of action scenes or certain situations. They're just everything is by design meant to make your eyes pop and meant to be so unbelievable that you'll never forget it.
And
So
aesthetically,
yeah,
it's so
that's
different from anything being made today. You look at Vampire Hunter D. You look at Kenshiro from Fist, right? You look at Golgo. These are, you don't see character designs like this anymore.
right.
Everyone's head is 80% eyes. Um, Everyone's wearing pastels. There are no rough edges. Everything's been ground down. Everyone's a big circle now, and so I think that's why this stuff does pop, because it's, each bit of it is so unique. But anyways, man, yeah, this was a fun one going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah,
And we're just getting started. This is going to be so much fun.
yeah.
We will have to figure out a way to watch D and do that one next.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. There
But
was
yeah,
another
all
one.
of,
Yeah.
no,
I'm
go
sorry, I
ahead. I'm
didn't mean to
sorry.
cut you off. No, I was just thinking. I have to find another movie because I was thinking about one that I wanted to go over with you, and
Sure.
maybe I already sent it to you, but I got to look at it again so that way, or at least
Yeah,
find
man.
it.
I mean,
We
it
kind of,
doesn't have to be D. We can do whatever. you know me. I'm down for whatever. I
yeah,
really trust your taste, because
yeah,
we're so in sync with music and all this stuff. So anything you want to do, man, I'm open for.
yeah. And I had a show or at least a movie, and I'm like, dude, it would be something I'd be totally down to like review specifically with you. So
Sure.
if I find it again, I'll definitely get back to you and
Yeah.
and shoot a trailer and we can do a review and as soon as I find it, I gotta find it again. But
Yeah, man.
yeah,
All good. All good. But no, thanks for doing this with me. Yeah, everyone, if you haven't, Tubi TV, check out Golgo. Check out Fist. I believe, yeah, Golgo 13 is on Tubi TV. Fist North Star, I think, is floating around somewhere on YouTube. And yeah, cleanse your palate. Try something new. It's fun. It's fun.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. Have a good time. Take a look at something old. You never know what you're gonna find. There are gems out there, man.
Yeah,
The 80s is
oldies
full
but
of
goodies.
gems. The gems.
Exactly. Thanks again, man. And thanks again, all of you, for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, or tell us what you want us to watch. If you know what we're into on this channel, we're open to suggestions. So awesome. We will check you guys next time. Again, we appreciate you watching.
Thank you guys.